You remember St. George last year. Do you think you would have beat me without your
Yes,
penalty?
I would have absolutely kicked your ass, man. But I would have never beaten you at 70.3 Worlds under no circumstances. How many passports do you actually own?
2. US and Italian. If you're an animal, which one would it be?
Dolphin. Do you consider yourself Belgian, French, American, or Italian?
I don't really consider myself Italian or Belgian, but I've lived in France for, my whole childhood. So I definitely have a strong French culture, even though I'm not actually French. I don't have a French passport. But then I'm American. I was born in the US, and now like all my friends are American. I live here. I went to college in the US, and I raced for the US. So I definitely feel more and more American. Favorite cheap meal? Or just like unhealthy food that you just like to eat a lot?
Pizza all the time. I mean,
Pizza?
yeah, you can do everything with pizza. Sweet, spicy, meat, or healthy. Do you think you would actually have beaten Gustav Eden if he would not cut the corners?
Like drop them way more on the downhill?
Probably.
You might be disqualified if you go over the line. I was like, well, damn, I better not, go over the line because I might be disqualified, which would be awful. So, I stayed on the right side of the road the entire downhill. I maybe touched the line, 2 or 3 times, but it was not like the other guys that were just, all over the road. And so I think that definitely helped them a lot to stay with me.
Hats off, first of all, for riding really clean, trying to ride really clean. And then also, downhill performance was pretty good. You really gave your very best to not overdo it.
I think if they couldn't follow my line anymore, because if I would have dropped them by more, if they didn't go over the line, then I think I could have entered T2, with at least 1 or 2 minutes, because then also at the end on the Promenade des Anglais, they were right behind me, so I wasn't really pushing it. I was just finishing at 300 watts. That if I was alone trying to get the biggest gap possible, I would have been going really hard. After, it's hard. The dude ran a 108, so I think he would have caught me anyways. Yeah. But it would have been a little different, I think, if they didn't, weren't all over the road. Especially Alistair, I think, was all over the road. Who do you think is the all-time GOAT of triathlon?
It's Jan Frodeno, of course. I don't think there's any other answer. There's nobody else who won the Olympics and Ironman Hawaii and probably a bazillion other races and records and so on. And he is still on the circuit. So I think it's going to be pretty tough to beat for any of the upcoming athletes. Do you think your power meter reads correctly?
Depends, last year or this year. I changed power meter.
I've seen all your power data. You have been pretty open with it, which is also kind of good, I guess. I'm not that open, but I'm pretty sure it's a little bit low because I think your highest average power was 319 in Elsinore, right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah, and I think that's not quite what you're pushing. I think that's not the power meter you should use when you race on Swift. So you're not doing the Swift races, right?
No, absolutely not.
You're following them?
Not that much either.
Not even looking at the results?
Sometimes I see them, because I'm on social media, but I don't actively seek out the results. It's just not real world to me. I'm just not interested in it that much,
Is getting a real world performance?
Yes. Yes and no. Yes, because it's obviously out on the real roads, but it's not obviously real racing with other people there. I only go for downhill KOMs, really. because you can do them without, really exerting yourself too much.
Don't do that,
Yeah. Is there one athlete you think you could never beat?
No, I think I've beaten pretty much every athlete, and also a lot of the athletes I've beaten, I probably thought I would never beat. I think you have to be cocky enough to say, no, I can beat everybody.
We wouldn't be pro athletes if we didn't think we could beat everyone, pretty much.
Exactly. And then, of course, to beat a guy like Jan, a lot of things have to go my way and probably not his way. So, of course, it's also just circumstances.
Have you beaten Jan?
Yep. But that always has been with some difficulties on his side. He had an injury. He had 3 flat tires. He got a penalty, or he just was probably ill or sick or whatsoever. So I think I've never really beaten him when he was at his very best.